Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Nigerian politicians are bracing themselves for next Wednesday's kickoff of campaigns for the forthcoming elections. In the build-up to this time, more especially since candidates emerged from the party primaries, a good number of the parties have been preoccupied dealing with emerging issues and generally trying to assuage disgruntled members. The situation may be remarkably different when the politicians begin to mount the soapboxes as they crisscross the country on the campaign trail. At the moment, the usual brickbats on social media is still unrelenting, with paid influencers using all manners of flowery language against one another, all in a bid to gain a stronghold for their political patrons. Can the political conversation this time be more dignified? We are now being joined by Pascal Egwim, an administrator of repute who made his mark in the area of procurement and supply chain management, as we continue the build-up to the commencement of the campaigns. Good morning, Mr. Egwim. Good to have you join us today.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning indeed.
Good morning, and thank you for having me again.
Thank you. All right, we'd like to start off by, having you share your insight with us. I mean, the campaigns will start in earnest in a few days, at least for the presidential campaigns. But then the pre-campaigns and the fireworks are focused more on personalities and, other issues rather than issue-based campaigns. What, in your opinion, do you think is responsible for this? And how do you think that from next week, we can at least begin to have a semblance of seriousness in terms of the kind of issues that will be discussed across party lines among candidates as we proceed towards February next year?
Yeah, thank you very much. And like you said, if you watch what has been happening on social media, what has been trending on social media, it's all personal attacks by one group against another. But that's not what Nigerians are expecting to hear from the politicians. It's good that the physical campaign is going to start very soon, in a few days' time. But at least it gives Nigerians the opportunity to ask questions. But as a matter of fact, they should stop all the mudslinging and get engaged in issue-based conversation. We need to be asking ourselves. In fact, the people who are running for office should be telling Nigerians what do they want to do about wealth creation. Poverty alleviation is an old slogan. We need to move away from that, throwing money at people, to helping them to create wealth for themselves. And then what are they going to do about job creation, the power supply infrastructure, which is down? What are they going to do? What are they going to do about urbanization? Where do we see Nigeria in 10, 20 years' time? Yeah? And where will the development centers, population development centers be? And how will those upsurge in numbers? Today, they say we are 200 million. By 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, we will be more than that. So what will they be doing to cope with that population explosion? Yeah? People will be demanding more of everything. More educational facilities, more power facilities, transportation, water facilities. So food security, what are they going to be doing about all those? That's what Nigerians want to hear, not personal attacks on individuals, talking about certificates or personal profiles. That's not what Nigerians want to hear. So, for example, how are we going to fully exploit our agro value chain? We need to start producing chocolates in Nigeria and not just selling cocoa seeds. How do we begin to produce chocolates and market chocolates to the West African region? There's a big market in Africa for finished products. We should stop depending on commodity marketing. This is what we have been doing since independence, and it's not helping matters. It's not creating jobs for our children. So what will they be telling Nigerians? What are they going to tell us about how to bring us from commodity marketing to marketing of finished products. That's what Nigerians want to discuss. And then, what about the huge square kilometers of land up north? How are we going to utilize those lands to become sufficient, to become food sufficient in Nigeria? And if possible, export the surplus food that we produce in order to earn foreign exchange. You don't get foreign exchange by sitting idle. You need to produce things and sell them to the rest of the world for you to earn foreign exchange. So if you go to the oil sector, there's a hydrocarbon value chain. That value chain produces not just petroleum. There are other petroleum products that are byproducts of that value chain. How are we going to make sure we fully exploit that value chain? What about the petrochemicals? What are they going to do to make sure that we are producing not just petroleum, not just PMS or AGO, but other petroleum products that are byproducts of the hydrocarbon value chain? So these are the things that we need our politicians to be engaging with and stop accusing themselves of several things that don't hold water. How do we reduce the cost of governance? Because when you reduce the cost of governance, you free up money to invest in other critical sectors. The cost of governance in Nigeria is about the highest in the world. So how do we get it down?
But
and help to build our infrastructure.
Mr. Egwim, if I may interrupt you there, you know we have had 16 years of PDP and about 7.5 years of APC. A lot of Nigerians will say that in terms of value, in terms of campaign, maybe they have not witnessed, much of a difference in terms of our Greek, in terms of approach to electricity issue, in terms of approach to oil and gas. Do you think that a fresh thing will come from either of the parties at this time around? Or do you think that a new party, for example, like Labour, could bring in a fresh idea that will speak to, to things that Nigerians really want? Because, after 23 years of the same thing, people seem to be tired of the same old thing.
Yeah, I think the media has a major role to play here. Because it is the information you try to extract from politicians that they will give you. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers. So I don't want to discuss parties here. I want to discuss issues. Yeah, the things that Nigerians expect in this conversation are issues. We have series of problems that we need to solve. It's not about party. Anybody from any party can discuss anything, but let them focus on the issues. PDP had been there 16 years. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah? We are now in 2022. We're now in 2022. We should be looking forward, not backwards. So whoever is coming to run for office needs to tell us what value is he going to add to what has been done already, not blaming the past. For instance, manufacturing. If you take manufacturing, the manufacturing sector, how can you, I bought diesel yesterday at 810 naira per liter. In the absence of power supply, how do you expect manufacturing companies in Nigeria to operate and survive? It's almost impossible. And that's why they're moving away. But if we are able to fix our power system and have regular power supply, then we will even encourage not only the manufacturing companies, but the MSMEs, the micro and small, medium enterprises, who drive the economy all over the world. If you go to UK, you go to the US, you go to Europe, it is the MSMEs that are the engine of the economy. But they don't have power.
All right,
right now, they are using pass my neighbor generators For how long are they going to continue to do that? If we want to grow the economy, we need to focus on these guys. Give them more access to capital and put policies in place that will compel our Nigerian banks to support the medium-scale enterprises. If they are going to be giving loans, who are they giving these loans?
Okay, those are all very important questions, Mr. Egwim. But when we speak of an issues-based campaign ahead of next year's general elections, there are a plethora of issues ranging from the economy, insecurity, education, to the exploitation of our agro and hydrocarbon value chains, which you alluded to earlier. Question here is, many of these issues have in fact been addressed in previous campaigns to no avail, which is what Steve was alluding to earlier. How do we ensure a move from mere manifesto points to execution post-campaign season?
Yeah. You see, I come from the private sector background. When you make promises, you show me evidence. For instance, personally, I would like to see a roadmap. If you say you are going to improve education, and this is how much you are going to invest in education, where is the roadmap? How do you get there? How do you move the dot from point A to point B? If you say you are going to improve power, you are going to increase power supply from 4,000 megawatts to 10 or 12,000 megawatts, how do you get there? Where is the infrastructure? What are you going to be doing about the infrastructure that will enable you take gas to power in order to achieve your 12,000 megawatts that you are proposing? It's not just by making promises. You have to show evidence of how you want to get there.
Okay, so you're talking about a roadmap.
So like I said,
that's a roadmap.
Yes.
It's one thing to have a roadmap. It's another thing to be held accountable for that roadmap. So my question is, how do we ensure?
Absolutely.
We have civil, society, organizations. What role do they play, and what other, areas are we ignoring so far in terms of holding the government to accountability when it comes to manifesto and campaign promises?
Yeah. Well, the people, we the people are also culpable when it comes to that, because we don't ask questions. We don't. How many Nigerians go to their local governments to visit their local government chairman to find out what his program is and ask questions about the program success? How many? Only very few people can do that. But Nigerians are becoming more aware of what is required in governance today. So I hope that going forward, we will begin to ask more questions from people who are holding office. We need to call them to account, call them out. We need to understand how they operate. You need to go to your local government, find out what the local government chairman or chairperson is doing. Does he have a plan? Where is his development plan? How far has he gone with his development plan? Is he receiving funding, adequate funding, to execute his plan? If we all stay aloof, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Holding people to account also it means that the system has to be made to be transparent.
Okay.
For instance, where I sit in Imo State as the Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement, all major contracts that we award in the state are published on our website. That is transparency for you. The citizens of Imo State are expected to log on to that website to see what is transpiring. What contracts have been awarded, to whom, at what value, and in what location, so that you can monitor what is going on. Unless citizens begin to take responsibility to hold people to account, there will be no improvement. In school, I was taught that only things that get measured can improve. If you don't measure performance, you don't get any improvement. It's as simple as that.
Okay, Mr. Egwim, before we come to Imo State, let's talk a bit about the oil sector that you are quite familiar with. And I would like you to share your thoughts. Hello, can you hear me?
Like I've lost them.
We can hear you clearly. Can you hear us? All right, we'll take a short break now. When we return, hopefully Mr. Egwim will return to join us then. Don't go away. Do stay with us. You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise. I'm glad to have you back, Mr. Egwim, a procurement expert and good governance advocate. All right, good to have you back, sir. I was saying before we lost
thank
you.
you very much.
You're welcome. Before we lost you the other time, that before we come to the issue of Imo State, where you currently serve, I was going to ask you about the oil sector, which you are very familiar with. And I wanted to know what your thoughts will be as to the sort of roadmap that you will expect from all the candidates, not just the leading candidates running for president, but all the candidates as far as turning things around will be, because that's your key area. We know that procurement played a role, and of course will always play a role in curbing excesses and of course corruption. So in the areas of oil theft, in the areas of deregulation, in the areas of subsidies, what are your expectations from the candidates? We know that the APC is saying that subsidies will have to go, but they won't go until President Muhammadu Buhari has left office. We have not heard in clear terms from the candidate of the APC. We have heard one way or the other from the candidate of the Labour Party. And for the PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar is basically saying that a private sector will have to be involved. As a practitioner who understands that sector clearly, what roadmap do you think that whoever becomes the president next year, May 29, should take as far as the oil sector is concerned?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you look at the value chain in the oil sector, it's very simple. You have to invest. When you invest in the activities of the oil sector, you discover more oil and gas. But unfortunately, oil is becoming obsolete. Yeah, but the energy transition for Africa needs to be slowed down anyway, because the carbon emission that the whole world is talking about is not generated from here. And we need to be given time to migrate from fossil fuel to clean energy. So that is my thought about that. But like I was saying earlier, if you invest money in the oil and gas sector, you will reap the benefits. If you don't invest, you don't get anything out of the system. Then our candidates should be telling us what are they going to do to revive the refineries. We need to be producing petroleum products in this country. We have the crude and we export the crude. We shouldn't be selling only crude oil. We should exploit the entire value chain and make money out of that value chain. We're not making enough money right now because we are not investing in facilities that will help us exploit the entire value chain. Petrochemicals, petroleum products, engine oil, a lot of things. Bitumen, even bitumen that you use to tar roads, is a byproduct of the hydrocarbon value chain. We need to take advantage of the entire value chain and let the government invest and encourage the private sector to also invest. And when you talk about private sector investment, I will not take my money to where it will be at risk. No way. Investors are looking for climates that are conducive for them to operate and recoup their investment, take their money back. So we need to fine-tune our processes and our systems and make it easy for people to come into Nigeria and do business so that they can bring in the capital that we need to develop the sector. So if refineries are working, then we don't need subsidy, because subsidy is associated with importation of petroleum products. And if you are paying subsidy and it's not reflecting at the pump, at the petrol station, then who is taking the subsidy? If the common man, the trader, is not benefiting from any subsidy, then there's no subsidy. So if that class of people, the farmers in the market, in the villages, the market women who go to the market, and then the transporters who buy fuel at the pump, if they don't take benefit of subsidy, then there's no need for subsidy. It means you're subsidizing people who are driving 4 cars at a time, and people who are driving five vehicles at a time. And then leave those who are just using public transport.
Okay. All right, Mr. Egwim, let's shift gears a little bit.
So for me,
yeah, we're going to have to manage time. Let's just switch gears a little bit. Let's take a look at due process in government regulations and public procurement. This, of course, is your forte. We understand that the implemented law in Imo State, for instance, is a domestication of the federal government procurement law with a few, say, amendments. Could you speak to how seamlessly this implementation has gone and how you are, of course, sensitizing the public on it?
Yeah, like Riley said, the public procurement law, the federal public procurement law, was domesticated in Imo State in 2010. And since I got there, we started to implement this law. The law is being fully implemented with the support of His Excellency, the Governor of the state, distinguished Senator Hope Uzodimma. What we are doing, in any transformation, there are usually about 4 major legs. You first of all have the legal framework, which is the law. Then from the legal framework, you develop documents, implementation documents, which we call the procurement documents, which we have done in Imo State. And we have put them to use. Then the next step is to build capacity. You have to teach and train people and coach and mentor them to understand the processes. And that is what we are doing with the support of the World Bank and other development agencies who come in to help once in a while. Recently, we just implemented electronic procurement system. We launched our electronic procurement system in Imo State a couple of months back, and we have piloted it with 4 major ministries: housing, health, government house, and education. We piloted it and it was successful. So the next level now is to roll it out to other major ministries and departments. And that's what we are planning to do anytime from now. In terms of advocacy, we are holding advocacy workshops with civil society. And anything we do in Imo State, whether it is budgeting or whatever, we involve civil society and educate them on what we are doing. And like I said earlier, any transaction that involves contract award or procurement is published on the Imo State website, imostate.gov.ng. Anybody can go in there, log in, and go to the procurement page and see all the contracts that have been awarded over the years and to whom these contracts were awarded. Yeah, you can follow it up. If there is any discrepancy or if you notice anything, you can come to the bureau and let us look at what you have noticed. So there is a lot of transparency going on, and advocacy is very important. That's another area that we are going to strengthen. We need to hold workshops. We're going to hold workshops pretty soon with civil society organizations, the general public. The documents we have developed are on the website as well. So the law is published on the website. The implementation documents are also on the website. Anybody can access them.
All right, Mr. Egwim,
so we are really on track.
Okay, that's good to know. Before we let you go, I was just going to ask you how this, how this has translated to assisting Imo State in ease of doing business. I know that in the first term of this Buhari administration, Nigeria ranked very high, with Lagos State and Kano State especially being singled out as part of the reason why Nigeria recorded some successes. So I'd like to ask you, with all this that you have put in place in Imo State, where do you rank as far as ease of doing business is concerned and the ability to attract foreign investment? Just in a few minutes, please.
Well, I've not seen the latest report on the ranking, but I think Imo State is pretty high on the ranking when it comes to ease of doing business. Yeah, but the latest ranking I have not seen from the statistics department. So I cannot speak to that right now because I don't have it offhand.
All right, Mr. Pascal Egwim, we want to thank you for joining us on the morning show today. Thank you indeed, and we appreciate your time. It's time now for a short break, and when we come back, it will be time to interact with our next guest, writer and public affairs analyst, Uchenna Nwankwo, and we will still look at the internal wranglings within the People's Democratic Party. Do stay with us.